You sneezed. Maybe you laughed. Maybe you just stood up too fast. And in that one unguarded moment, you felt it, that little leak, that betrayal of your own body that you never expected, never planned for, and have never told anyone about. Not your doctor, not your closest friend, not even your partner, because there are things women carry in silence, and this is one of them. But I need you to hear this, and I mean really hear it. What just happened to you is not a personal failure. It is not a sign that your body is falling apart, and it is absolutely not something you simply have to accept as part of getting older. My name is Dr. Eleanor Whitaker, and in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you what is actually happening inside your body, why it's happening, and why millions of women who are dealing with this exact same thing have no idea that the real cause has almost nothing to do with their bladder. Stay with me, because what I'm about to share changes everything. Let me ask you something. When did you first notice it? Was it during a workout you used to do without a second thought? A coughing fit that suddenly became embarrassing? A moment of laughter that you now brace yourself against? Maybe it started so subtly that you told yourself it was nothing, a fluke, stress, dehydration, and then it happened again and again, until quietly, without you even fully realizing it, you started adjusting your life around it. You started choosing certain clothes, avoiding certain situations, skipping the trampoline class you used to love, laughing a little more carefully, always knowing where the nearest bathroom is. If any of that sounds familiar, I want you to know something. You are not alone. And more importantly, you are not stuck. There are three main types of urinary incontinence that affect women, and understanding which one you're experiencing is the first key to understanding what your body is trying to tell you. The first is stress incontinence. Despite the name, this has almost nothing to do with emotional stress. It happens when physical pressure, a sneeze, a cough, a jump, even a deep laugh, overwhelms what should be a controlled system. The second type is urge incontinence. This is that sudden, intense need to go that arrives with almost no warning, sometimes not even giving you enough time to reach the bathroom. And the third, the one that so many women over 40 experience without realizing it, is mixed incontinence, a combination of both. A double burden, leaks from pressure and leaks from urgency, often showing up within the same day, sometimes within the same hour. Now here is where most conversations about this topic stop. They give you a name for what you're experiencing, maybe suggest some pelvic floor exercises, and send you on your way. But I'm not going to do that, because giving a condition a name without explaining the why is like telling someone their house is on fire without mentioning that they left the stove on. The why is everything. And the why, the real why that almost no one is talking about, begins not in your bladder. It begins in your hormones. After the age of 35, something begins to shift in a woman's body. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't announce itself with a dramatic moment. It happens quietly, gradually, the way fog moves in, almost imperceptible, until suddenly you can't see clearly anymore. Estrogen levels begin to decline. And here is what most women don't realize. Estrogen is not just a reproductive hormone. It is a tissue-maintaining hormone. It keeps the lining of the urethra thick and resilient. It keeps the muscles of the pelvic floor supple and responsive. It maintains the sensitivity of the bladder wall so that it signals appropriately, not too early, not too urgently, not in a constant state of alarm. When estrogen begins to fall, all of that changes. The urethral lining thins. The pelvic tissues lose some of their elasticity. The bladder becomes, in a sense, more reactive, quicker to signal, harder to control, less capable of holding what it used to hold without effort. And this process doesn't happen in isolation. Progesterone drops alongside estrogen. Cortisol, the stress hormone, rises to fill the gap, creating a chain reaction of systemic inflammation, disrupted sleep, and metabolic changes that make everything worse. Your body is not betraying you. Your body is trying to manage a hormonal landscape that has fundamentally changed, with tools that were calibrated for a different reality. Now, I want you to think about this for a moment. Think about the last time you woke up in the middle of the night. Not because you heard something, not because you were too hot or too cold, but because your bladder was insisting urgently and without negotiation that you get up right now. And you did. And then maybe it happened again. And now you can't remember the last time you slept through the night without at least one trip to the bathroom. That is not coincidence. That is not just aging. That is the hormonal cascade I'm describing playing out in real time while you're trying to sleep, while your body is supposed to be restoring and repairing itself. And the exhaustion you feel the next morning, that deep cellular tiredness that no amount of coffee seems to touch, that is part of it too. Sleep deprivation compounds hormonal imbalance. Hormonal imbalance disrupts sleep. It is a cycle that feeds itself, and it can begin so gradually that by the time you recognize it, you've been living inside it for years. Here is something I see constantly in my practice, and it breaks my heart every time. Women who have been quietly managing these symptoms for months, sometimes years, who have told themselves it's normal, it's just part of getting older, it's not bad enough to do anything about. Women who have quietly started wearing protective pads every day, not because they chose to, but because they didn't feel they had another option. Women who have stopped exercising not because they lost motivation, but because exercise became unpredictable and embarrassing. Women who laugh less freely, who travel with more anxiety, who carry a quiet background hum of worry about situations that they used to move through without a second thought. This is what unaddressed hormonal imbalance does over time. It doesn't just affect your bladder. It affects your life. It affects who you are willing to be and what you feel safe doing. And this is the moment I need to stop and be very direct with you. Because if you have been watching this video and thinking, yes, that sounds like me, but I've just been assuming it's something I have to live with, I need you to understand that assumption might be costing you more than you realize. The hormonal changes I'm describing are progressive. They don't plateau and stay manageable on their own. Without support, estrogen and progesterone levels continue to decline. The tissues continue to thin. The symptoms, the urgency, the leaking, the interrupted sleep, the fatigue, the mood changes that you've probably also noticed tend to intensify, not stabilize. What feels manageable right now can become significantly harder to address in 2 years, in 5 years, in 10 years. The window of opportunity to support your body through this transition is not infinite, and that is not something I say to frighten you. I say it because I have watched too many women wait, and I have watched the cost of that waiting. The good news, and there is genuinely good news here, is that the body has a remarkable capacity to respond when it receives the right support. The pelvic tissues that have thinned can regain some of their tone and resilience. The bladder's reactivity can calm when the hormonal environment shifts. The pattern of urgency, of waking at night, of unpredictable leaks. These things are not fixed and permanent features of your future. They are signals from a body that is asking for something. And when that something is provided, when the hormonal foundation is supported naturally and consistently, the signals change. Women who have been managing incontinence for years describe the shift as feeling like they have come back to themselves, not a dramatic overnight transformation, a gradual, steady return to a version of their body that feels reliable again, that feels like theirs. This is why I want to tell you about a natural method of hormonal support that has been helping women in exactly this situation. Women dealing with the specific pattern of pelvic floor weakness, bladder urgency, and the underlying hormonal imbalance that drives both. This is not a medication. It is not a procedure. It is a way of giving your body the botanical and nutritional building blocks it needs to support the hormonal balance that underlies all of these symptoms, including the incontinence that brought you here today. Everything about this approach is designed to work with your body's own systems to support what is already trying to happen, and to do so in a way that is sustainable long-term. The link to learn more is right below this video, in the description, and in the first comment. I'd encourage you to look at it before you close this page, because this is the kind of information that tends to get set aside and forgotten, and that setting aside has consequences. Let me tell you what happens when the hormonal foundation begins to stabilize. Women report that the urgency lessens, that sudden, impossible-to-ignore signal starts to give them a little more warning, a little more time. They report that nighttime waking decreases, which means deeper, more restorative sleep, which means more energy, clearer thinking, more emotional steadiness during the day. They report that the stress leaking, the sneezes, the laughs, the unexpected moments becomes less frequent as the pelvic tissues regain some of their integrity. And they report something harder to measure, but perhaps more important than any of these, they feel less like they are managing a problem and more like they are living their life. That distinction matters. The difference between managing a condition and living fully is the difference between surviving and thriving. And you deserve to thrive. But I want to be honest with you about something. There is a version of your future where none of this changes, where the urgency continues, where the nighttime waking continues, where the quiet adjustments and the background anxiety continue to accumulate, where the things you've given up, the workouts, the spontaneous laughter, the ease of travel, the confidence of knowing your body will behave predictably, where those things don't come back. That version of your future is not inevitable, but it becomes more likely the longer the underlying hormonal imbalance goes unsupported. The tissues don't wait. The hormonal decline doesn't pause while you decide. And the women who look back and wish they had acted earlier are not rare. They are the majority of the women I speak with who waited too long. The women who acted, who decided that their symptoms were worth addressing, that they were worth addressing. Those women are doing things right now that they had quietly stopped letting themselves do. They are laughing without bracing. They are exercising without anxiety. They are sleeping through the night. They are living without that constant background calculation. That is available to you. The difference is the decision to look at what your body is telling you and to actually respond to it. The link below this video is where that response begins. It's in the description and in the first comment. Click it now while it's in front of you before the day moves forward and this moment passes. Your body has been sending signals. This is how you answer them.